Welcome to the WRDSB Hearing Services presentation on hearing loss. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about supporting deaf and hard of hearing students in the classroom. This presentation will provide you with ideas to make learning more accessible. It is a brief overview of hearing loss, how it affects students, and ways in which students can be supported in the classroom. Hearing loss is when a person cannot hear as well as someone with normal hearing. Normal or typical hearing is hearing sounds at levels 20 decibels or better. Types of hearing loss include sensorineural, conductive, and mixed hearing loss. Sensorineural hearing loss affects the inner ear and is a permanent hearing loss. Conductive hearing loss affects the outer and middle ear and can be temporary or permanent. For example, a child with chronic middle ear problems, like fluid or infections, may result in a conductive hearing loss that improves when the infection is resolved. A mixed hearing loss is a combination of both sensorineural and conductive hearing loss. Here we have the graph you will find on an audiogram. This is a visual representation of someone's hearing. You need this to understand what a student can and cannot hear. The blue bubble is what we call the speech banana. This is the area where human speech sounds in English appear on a graph. If you look at the top of the graph, you will see it is indexed in hertz. Think of this as the number of vibrations in each sound, from low pitch to high pitch. You can see the deep, low-pitched woof of a dog's bark on the middle left, and the high-pitched tweet of a bird on the upper right. On the left side axis of the graph, you will see loudness indexed in decibels. At the bottom, you can see a loud chainsaw, and at the top, the soft whispering of leaves in the trees. The line of X's are for the left ear, and the O's are for the right ear. Everything above these lines is too soft to be heard. Everything below the lines is loud enough to be heard. If this student had normal hearing, these lines would be more or less horizontal across the top of the graph on the zero line. This student has a moderate, sloping to moderately severe hearing loss. Without hearing aids or an FM system, this student cannot hear human speech in a perfect listening environment. Forget about hearing in a noisy classroom without some serious help from hearing aids or an FM system. How many of us will be teaching in classrooms with perfect listening environments? That's right, none of us. School classrooms are naturally a noisy, imperfect environment for hearing. The rustle of paper and the scraping of chair legs can make it much harder for kids with normal hearing to understand what's said. If you have trouble hearing, you are at an even greater disadvantage. What can be done to help? Hearing aids can improve hearing, and an FM system can improve hearing in a noisy classroom by allowing a student to hear the teacher first, loudest, and clearest, functionally eliminating background noise in the classroom. Folks, please make an S sound. Now, make it louder. You can't, right? Make a B sound. Now, make it louder. Easy to do, isn't it? This shows you that some sounds cannot be made louder. So having a big voice does not replace a student's need for hearing aids or a teacher's need to wear an FM system in the classroom. If a student can't hear the S sound, then how can they be expected to orally produce the S sound in their speech or their reading? The S sound is hugely important for understanding possessives, plurals, and many comprehension markers in spoken language. Think of how many common practical function words have S. This, those, these, his, hers, see, saw, to name only a few. If you can't hear S, your comprehension is naturally behind before class has even begun.
I know I'm young, could be a little bit wiser, but I've had my fair share of love, and I've seen enough of death and hate, and fire and ice, to know the cold will suffice. Yes, feel surprised, I'm educated, please don't underestimate me if you can tolerate my opinion. once in your life. If we all take one step, that's a giant leap for one little girl. But I can't do this on my own, and I don't wanna be alone. Would you take my hand and join me for taking some afternoon company forever?
Students with hearing loss wear amplification devices to access speech, language, and environmental sounds. Hearing aids do not restore natural hearing. They amplify all sounds, even background sounds such as fans and ventilation systems. Hearing aid users need to learn to listen using the devices and will rely on other strategies to support comprehension. There are a variety of hearing aids such as behind-the-ear hearing aids, bone conduction hearing aids, and receiver-in-the-canal hearing aids, to name only a few. A cochlear implant is an electronic device that can improve hearing. It is a surgical procedure that is an option for people who have severe to profound hearing loss and are not able to hear well with hearing aids. Unlike hearing aids, which amplify sound, a cochlear implant bypasses damaged portions of the ear to deliver sound signals to the inner ear and auditory nerve. When the device is not worn, or the batteries are dead, the individual will have little to no hearing. It takes time and training to listen through a cochlear implant to understand speech. Communication can be challenging even with hearing aids and cochlear implants. Personal FM systems connect directly to students' individual amplification devices. The teacher wears a transmitter around their neck or clipped to clothing, and their voice is transmitted to a student's hearing aids or cochlear implants. This transmits the teacher's voice directly to the ear, thereby limiting the influence of noise, distance, or reverberation.
This is a simulation of what speech sounds like through hearing aid. This is what it would sound like if you're an adult with a hearing aid trying to communicate in a restaurant or a cafeteria. You can hear me, but you can also hear all the noise and reverberation, making it difficult to understand my voice. As we move further away from the talker, it becomes even more difficult to understand speech.
This is what speech would sound like when listening through a Roger system from Phonak. In this example, we're using the Roger pen. It automatically chooses the correct settings based on the room noise and its position in space. Now you can hear speech much more clearly, making it easier to understand. It will sound clear no matter how far away you are. You can even be 20 meters away and still hear and understand.
Soundfield systems benefit children with hearing loss, but they also benefit all the children in the classroom. Soundfield systems amplify the educator's voice in a room in order to improve clarity and reduce the impact of background noise and distractions for listeners. Amplification devices, personal FM system, and Soundfield FM systems work well in combination with classroom accommodations to ensure that students have access to the curriculum. As you can see, there are several factors that need to be considered when teaching a student with hearing loss. A significant amount of effort is needed to listen and learn in a classroom setting, which can result in some students experiencing what's called listening fatigue. Listening fatigue manifests itself differently in each student, but one frequently sees decreased attention and learning. At other times, headaches and changes in behavior may result from auditory fatigue. The presence of background noise has a significant effect on a person with hearing loss. Not only will they exert additional effort to understand the speaker, but they may miss portions of words or entire words, thereby directly affecting their comprehension. It should also be noted that although the person with hearing loss may indicate or appear to have heard the message, this does not mean that they have heard all of the message or that they have completely understood it. Depending on the student's age and language development, they may not even realize that part of the instruction was missed or misunderstood. This is why it is so crucial that the teacher frequently checks their students' comprehension throughout a lesson. Communication breakdowns occur when the listener does not understand the speaker. While everyone experiences communication breakdowns, individuals with hearing loss encounter communication breakdowns with greater frequency than their hearing peers. Misunderstanding a message can result in the student with hearing loss feeling frustrated or confused. The effective implementation of strategies can help reduce the occurrence of communication breakdowns. Highlighted on the next 2 slides are just a few of the many important strategies that are essential for students with hearing loss. Using amplification alone, hearing aids, cochlear implants, and FM systems are not enough. Consistent use of the FM system means wearing it whenever you are directly addressing a student with hearing loss. The FM system improves the signal-to-noise ratio, the teacher's voice, allowing the student with hearing loss the best possible access to your voice. With consistency, you will develop familiarity and ease with the system itself and establish rapport and trust with the student. To minimize background noise in your classroom, take a moment and listen. Are there students passing by in the hall? Is there construction happening outside? Make the listening environment as friendly as possible. Close the windows and doors, turn off noisy fans or lights, and eliminate playing background music while students work. Preferential seating allows proximity to the speaker and a clear view of the speaker's face. Institute a one-voice rule, where one person talks at a time in all activities. This will allow the deaf or hard of hearing listener to follow the discussions happening in the classroom with greater ease. Pre-teach vocabulary and concepts related to the curriculum. Students with hearing loss may have limited vocabulary and language experience compared to their typical hearing peers. Pre-teaching vocabulary and concepts can help students integrate new words and concepts into their bank of knowledge. This gives opportunities for repeated exposure prior to lessons being presented in the larger classroom setting. Use visuals to support auditory information such as graphs, anchor charts, photos and videos, and labeled diagrams. These types of visual supports give students with hearing loss the opportunity to further attach meaning to the auditory information being presented. Post directions for activities on the board. This can be in picture format for young learners or written format for students who are able to read. Either way, it gives a visual reference for students to follow if they miss any part of the instructions that were given orally. Not only do we want to ensure our students with hearing loss are able to hear to the best of their ability, we want them to understand as well. Check in with students by asking, "What did you hear me say?" versus, "Did you hear me?" Remember, hearing and understanding are not the same thing. Use closed captioning features on videos where they are available and appropriate. It's important for students with hearing loss to hear and understand all parts of a classroom discussion. It can be difficult for students to hear their peers' questions and responses. So as a facilitator for the discussion and the person who's wearing the FM transmitter, it is important to repeat other students' responses. Students with hearing loss work extremely hard to listen and understand all day long. It is exhausting, and listening fatigue is very real. Recognizing signs of fatigue, such as student rubbing their eyes, complaining of a headache, putting their head down on a desk, or extreme fidgeting, indicates they need a break. Effective implementation of the strategies outlined here will allow our students with hearing loss to better avoid communication breakdowns. This ensures optimal access to the curriculum, allowing the student to experience success in the classroom. Many school boards have a hearing services department with qualified teachers of the deaf and hard of hearing that can support students with hearing loss in the classroom. They also support classroom teachers with strategies and resources to aid in supporting our students.